So, last year, I think it was last year, Wired magazine wrote that the web is dead. Is it?
It's not dead.
I hope not. I read that and thought it was absolute. Because the premise was basically that everyone uses apps for everything, which is also. Because if there's, it's like an app is basically a refined, very exact user experience. It's very good at doing one thing normally, and an app that tries to do lots of things is normally quite a bad user experience, or it's a WebKit browser put into an app, so it's still the web. Yeah, obviously, yeah. So yeah, that was mine. I think, yeah, that's it basically.
Yeah.
So does anyone disagree with that?
I think we probably all would say it is a massive pair of kahunas, but I think it's looking at what's being delivered at the moment as the web changes. And again, though so if you take something like the iPad, which it is based around the apps, but also the web functionality of that, you can still use it to launch everything. You can still use it to view video. You can still use it to listen to music and so forth. So I think it's just more about as designers, as we look forward in terms of what the web changes into, is about our responsibility about how we deliver this content. And I think that's the interesting thing. It's less about a web page which looks like design, as you were saying, about like a piece of print design, which is still just a viable piece of web as it would be to have a movie up there or to do a piece on YouTube. I think going back to the kind of my focus is all about communication and communicating with the end user and what that end user gets out of it. And I think that the idea of the web as a web page is kind of being repurposed because we've got more access to different types of mediums. We've got more access to different data from different streams, such as Twitter and Facebook, and it's about combining them all to get into one place that makes sense. And that place where it makes sense is the web, and that's our responsibility to handle that for the user well.
Sorry, just one more thing on the article, is because it made me really angry, that article, because it was almost like it had been written by Apple's PR department, and Apple would love the web to be dead because they can't make money out of every page served, whereas they can make money out of every app served. So there was a massive piece of self-interest from Apple wanting to kind of stamp on the kind of open infrastructure of the web and control it because that's their business model. So I think when you think about it in terms like that, then that makes a bit more sense. But what happens when you lose your password or whatever it's called? It sends you to a web page to reset it. So
I don't know. I think the whole idea of the web being dead is true in a sense. The fact that 10 years ago, if you want to have a website or put your content on there, you had to have at least some knowledge of being able to do that. So in that sense, the old web where for that is now gone, and now we're at a point where content is starting to become freely available. People of all ages and all abilities are able to use the web and upload their content, whether it's creating blogs or videos or photos. So in a sense, the old web is dead, and now we're kind of coming onto this new sort of almost like ubiquitous being that everything can hook into. So yeah, we do have devices, but they are using the web to run those devices. If you use like Instagram, you're using an app, but it's posting it to the web. Right? A lot of the time, these apps do have a back end to them. Foursquare has a back end to it. It's an app that has a back end to it, and I think it'll always be that. Maybe we won't be going to websites as much, but it'll certainly always be there as a grounding sort of area. Sorry, you might say I wasn't saying this.
I didn't, but I think what you said was really valid, and I think that the other thing is the web is a new environment, isn't it? It's not about the stuff that you can touch here, or maybe it is. It's the interface is changing, the browser's changing, the fact that apps have come about, and that's another way to interact with it. It's all about that. It's the fact that as browsers improve the technology and become, you're able to create more app-like content, through the browser. I don't think we should get hung up on, what what format the web is delivered to you in, it's still the web at the end of the day, and it doesn't have a physicality, but it's still there. So.
I don't really have much to add to that, apart from, I think largely this kind of discussion is based for designers and developers. I don't think it really matters to anybody outside of our industry, because from a while ago now, there's some stat where people were asked on the streets of New York what browser they use, and they said Google. I mean, do they care? Do they know what the web is? Just as long as it works, who cares?
I find it quite interesting over the last sort of 5 years, this shift of software going from the desktop onto the web. You know, a lot of the time you have kind of project management software on a desktop, and now it's kind of on the web. And it's almost as if mobile is reversing that now. Like, a lot of apps are now being native but using the web. And I'm wondering whether, you know, I would dare say in the next 10 years that it might be a case where apps will no longer be on mobile, they will be on the web and served through the web. There might be a point where you might even have an operating system on a phone. I know that Google are now bringing out Chrome laptops, which are completely, everything is on the web for that. So I'm just, kind of wondering whether that's the sort of direction we might be going. I'll say 20 years, because it's all about kind of, there's other restrictions like connectivity. I know 3G is absolutely shut, and 4G. So I'll say 20 years. I don't quote me on that.
Adrian, did you have something to say?
Just thought it was very interesting that you were commenting that 10 years ago people had to go to somebody to get their site authored when you'd grown up on Geocities, which was exactly that, self-publishing. So I just thought it was slightly contradictory. You're saying that you've come from a place where you had to have a designer and developer code and build it. When you built
maybe I meant 15 years ago. I didn't the GeoCities one. Maybe I'm showing my age, but yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe it was a bit more than 10 years ago. It's like, I'm talking about 96. Let's just say 96 for that, not 2000, because obviously you can still do it that way. So.
I think kind of linked to that though, there was still a massive knowledge gap in terms of people's accessibility to that. I mean, a small business can set up a website in.
As the one that would have us believe.
Yeah, God bless them. So, I think it's still, there was such a level of, such a barrier to entry back then, that when we talk about the web is dead, I think there's an element of that which is, it feels like that barrier to entry is gone, and now because it's exploded and everybody can access it and do a lot more with it regardless of the level of skill sets that they have or the type of experience they have, I think that opens a lot more doors. So therefore we're all left debating, is the web dead or not, because it could be perceived that a designer, say for example, has less requirement. I mean, you see a lot of adverts for no need for designers, build your own website. It's like, well, cheers. I've worked very hard to have this as a job, and I'd like to keep it going forward. And good luck to them if they want to build their one-on-one website. And good luck to them. I'm sure it won't work.
It's like when desktop publishing came out, there wasn't it? Everyone that was a printer thought that they were going to be out of a job. But there's a lot more. That kind of commoditised self-service system gives you something that's a commodity, obviously.
I'm trying to say it's really not changed.
No, but there's always
it's evolved, but
but there's always a constant ongoing progression, and that kind of stuff is always behind the way where some clients will want to be.
Clip art's a lot better than it was 10 years ago.
I mean, does anyone have? I mean, this is quite one of the questions really to do with, how do